Okay. All right. We'll start in next 2 minutes. We'll wait for 2 more minutes to join some more participants. Then we'll start. We'll start in next 1 minute. We'll just start in next 1 minute, guys. Waiting for a few more participants to join. Okay, guys. So I believe let's start our session, guys. So we are here for the webinar on IT audit interview preparation. So in this webinar, we will be going to discuss some of the key IT audit interview related questions. And I would be also explaining you a detailed explanation as how to answer those questions. Okay. So guys, let's start our webinar. Let's start with question number one. Before we start, let me just give you the overview. So basically, guys, whenever you appear for IT audit interview, in the interview, they may ask you a various questions based on the job description. If I divide those questions on a high level, okay, so basically, if you talk about type of questions, interview always start with the introduction only. Okay, so there would be a introductions, like first interviewer will ask you to introduce yourself. So that would be there. Then they may ask you few questions which are role specific questions for the job role that you are applying. They may ask you few questions based on that. They may ask you some operational and situational based questions. So in this session, we will be going to discuss those as well. And they may ask you certain behavioral questions as well. That suppose just to check what will you do in that situation, what would be your behavior in that situation. So they may ask you that questions as well. So these are the high level questions that in interview you may see. Now let's start with question number one, guys. So I got a lot of feedback from the participants when at the time of registration of the webinar, they were asking me this like two, three people have asked me to cover these questions. What is that question? In the interview, they may give you a situation. Now, what is that situation? Let's take a case where the last working day of the user is 10th October. What is the last working day? 10th October, and the last logging date is 25th October. Now, what will you do next as an IT auditor, as an IS auditor? What will you do next? So, what was the last working day, guys? The last working day was 10th October. And the last login date was 25th October. Last login date is 25th October. Now, as an auditor, what will you do? So, guys, as an auditor, first you will review the user access management policy and procedures of the company. User access management policy procedure. Now, generally in the user access management in some company, it is called as a logical access management policy procedures as well. In that policy procedures, guys, you will clearly see that company will define the controls over the access deprovisioning. And in most of the scenario, company will give a timeline that once user left the company within a 24 hours, we will be deactivating his or her ID. So generally what happens in the policy procedures, they define a timelines. They define a timelines by when they would be deactivating the user ID. Okay, so those timelines are being defined. Now here, what will happen, guys? Since the login was there after the last working day, that means the user ID was not deactivated on a timely basis. Now, as an auditor, first you will ask to the company, do you have an exception approval for a delay? Now, in this case, how much delay is there, guys? Delay is there for 15 days, for example. 15 days delay is there. So, as an auditor, you will ask, do you have an exception approval for this particular case where there was a delay in deactivation? Second, if login is there after the last working day, you will also check the transaction log of that ID. What will you do? You will check the transaction log of that ID. You will make sure that whether they have passed any transaction from this ID or not. Because guys, if you pass any transactions from the ID where the user has already left, those transactions would be considered as an unauthorized transaction, because for this there is no accountability. There is no accountability. So as an auditor, we need to make sure whether the transaction was passed or not. If transaction is passed, we will raise this concern, and accordingly auditor need to give the revert that why there was a delay, why there was a delay in the deactivation of ID. Okay, so these are the points we need to verify whenever there was a delay. Now, just to get you a brownie point, guys, you can also mention one more point, that if the delay period, if the delay period is more than, if the delay period more than is more than the user access review frequency, user access review frequency, then as an auditor you will fail the user access review control as well. What is a user access review, guys? User access review is a process where on a periodical basis organization verify that whatever users which are there in the application, whether those users are active as per the HR data or not. Now, for example, guys, organization is conducting a user access review on a quarterly basis. So every 90 days, there is a user access review process. Okay. Now, suppose you have noted that there was a delay for 150 days. There was a delay of 150 days in the deactivation of ID, then as an auditor, you will ask company, boss, why this case was not identified during the user access review. Suppose you have missed this particular case at the time when user have left a company, why this was not identified during the user access review. Okay, so in the interview you can also mention this point, I will check the delay. If the delay period is more than the user access review frequency, then we will fail this particular control as well. Now when you will answer this, interviewer may ask, how will you find a root cause of this problem? Okay, counter question can come from the interviewer. He may ask, how will you identify the root cause of that problem? Now, guys, in this case, generally what will happen? See, this user access deactivation process is initiated by an HR. Once user left the company, HR is the one who inform to all the department, including the IT department, that this would be the last working day of this particular employee. Suppose if there is a delay from the HR side, if there was a delay in the intimation itself. For example, the user has left a company on 10th October. Now, HR has intimated to the IT department on 24th October, and IT department has deactivated the ID on 25th October. Then HR would be responsible to take this observation's ownership. They are the owner of this observation. Now they have to make sure that they are doing a timely intimation. Okay, so in order to identify a root cause, you will be requiring a date when the communication was received from the HR and the date when the ID was deactivated. So this is how you will answer question number one when there was a delay. Now, in the second case, what happened? Interviewer is saying, boss, last working day of the employee was 10th October. And last logon date of that employee was 7th October. Now, if you will see, guys, there is no risk as such. Okay, because in case of delay of deactivation, what is the risk? This is the risk that unauthorized the transactions which are passed after the last working day, those transactions would be considered as an unauthorized transaction. For that, there would not be an accountability. But in this case, now, in the second case where the ID was deactivated before the last working day, there is no risk as such. Correct? There is no risk as such. You may ask to the auditee that why you have deactivated this ID 3 days before the last working day. Whether it was a case of early relief. Okay, whether it was a case of early relief, whether employee have opted for early relief, how that employee have done a, like, time in, time out, how he was accessing the applications after the 7th October. So you may ask those relevant question to auditee, but risk per se, there is no such risk because ID was deactivated 3 days before a last working day. So you will just inquire a reason that why they have deactivated this ID 3 days before the last working day, whether the employee was given a early relief kind of thing, and how then after 7th October, whether his attendance was marked or not. If attendance was marked, how he was coming to the office and how he was getting an access to applications and other infrastructure. So you can just ask the reason. So basically, with this question, interviewer want to check your confidence. Like they have just given you a tricky situation where they are saying that the ID was deactivated 3 days before the last working day. In the first case, there was a delay. In the second case, the ID was deactivated 3 days early. So risk per se, there is no risk as such, but still you can answer this to you can inquire a reason by asking this two relevant question. Okay. So this is about question number one, guys. And similarly, if someone asks you what is a procedure to test if terminated users access to system after their termination date. So same procedures only we will apply, guys. Correct? We will apply the same procedures. First, we will check whether the exception approval was taken or not. Then we will verify whether the any transaction was passed after the last working day, and then if the transactions are passed, then we will call those transaction as an unauthorized transaction, and we will also say if the delay period is more than user access review frequency, then we will fail that control as well. So this is the procedure. Okay. To test if terminated user access to systems after their termination date, basically. Okay. And similarly, if someone asks you, let's take a user access termination, how to test this control, how you will test this control, guys. So in order to test this control, what data you will be requiring? You will be requiring the list of users or list of employees. Okay, employee including third party vendor, because you have to verify this for all the employee, on-roll employee, off-roll employee. So you will ask the list of employee, including third-party vendor employee who have left the company, during the audit period. Okay, first you will ask this data requirement, and then you will ask the evidence of user access deactivation for sample employee, sample employees. From that list, you will select some sample cases. And for those sample cases, you will ask the evidence of user access deactivation. Sometime what will happen, guys, application generates a log. In the log, user deactivation date is also captured. So if application is able to provide you those log, then you can ask the logs of logs of user deactivation. Logs of user deactivation. So this is the audit procedures that you will apply. First you will ask this data, guys. Okay, list of employee, including third party employees who have left the company during the audit period. This data you will compare with this data. Okay, last working day versus date when the access was revoked or deactivated, or any deviation you will found. For those deviation cases, for those deviation cases, you have to apply your audit procedure like this. So tell me now, guys, this is clear. Question number one is clear to everyone. Any query, any doubt here, you can ask, guys. This is all about
Uh,
question number one. Any query, any doubt, you can ask. Yes, please tell me.
yes, Sanchit. So Naveen here. So
Yeah, Naveen.
if the first scenario failed during the interim period, so if we caught any exception during the interim period, and so
Yeah.
for the rest of the period, what should be the procedure? It should be it should be considered as a failure control till the update period as well, or would be another procedure that we apply for the rest of the interim period.
Okay, so what you are saying, if I understood your problem statement correctly, the last
Mhm.
working day was 10th October. The day, exception approval was taken, for example, till 20th October, correct? This is what the problem statement is, 20th October. Now, remaining 5 days, what we need to do? This is what you are saying. This is what you are saying.
Sorry, Sachin. So what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
so during the interim period, right? So if we identify this case, the last working day is greater than, sorry, last login day is, yeah, last
Yeah.
working day is greater than the last login day. And if
Okay.
we identify this scenario during the interim period, so what should
Interim
be the,
period means what? Interim period, what interim period you are referring? Interim period here, what you are referring for interim period? Like during the audit period, you are saying?
yes, during the audit period.
Okay. So, okay, if we have identified this during the audit period, then what is your question? Then?
Yeah, so would be so if this problem failed during the interim period, so
Mhm.
would we consider as a failure control during the update period as well, or should be
No, 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 no. See, basically, this suppose if you have found out this instances. So if this
Mhm,
instances was found during the audit period, then that audit period control will fail. You will not fail that
mhm,
control as on date, correct? Because we are
right.
see we are checking this control for the audit period. For example, if your audit period is April to March 2024, so this
Mhm.
control will be failed only for this period. You will not
Okay.
fail this control as on date, correct? You are asking whether this control will be considered as failed as on date. This is what you are asking.
Yes, right.
Yeah, no, no. This will not be considered as a failed as on date because you
Mhm,
have verified the compliance only for the audit period. You have not verified after March 24, correct? They may have
right.
implemented a control after March 24, but this I am not giving an any assurance. I am just giving an assurance for the audit period. Okay?
Oh, all right, all right. Got it.
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect. Any other query, guys? Any other doubt for question number one? You can ask. Or
Yes,
should
Sachin,
we
I have
move?
one query.
Yeah, yeah, please tell me. Please tell me.
So my query is, if a transaction is passed by the terminated user after last working date, so do we need
Okay.
to check the performance materiality of the transactions performed by
Mm-hmm.
the users before
Perfect.
coming to the conclusion that whether we can give exception over that or not?
Yeah, yeah, we have to see the impact. Okay, we have to see the impact. Sometime what will happen? Uh, like we have to basically we have to see the impact. Suppose if that user have authorized some ticket, for example, that person having a right in some application, and after last working day using his ID, somebody has authorized a certain ticket, somebody has authorized some payment, somebody has authorized a transaction to pass entry into ERP application. So obviously we have to see the impact. First, we have to see whether transaction was passed or not from that ID. Second, if transaction was passed, what was the impact of those transactions on the system, on the process, on the financial statement? So you have to see that impact as well. Okay, you have to see the impact as well. But whether impact is low or whether impact is high, it will be considered as an observation. If exception approval is not there, you cannot pass a transactions from the other person's ID, correct? So even if there is a low impact, you have to still raise this as an observation. Okay,
Okay, got it.
clear? Okay, any other query,
I have
guys? Any
one
other doubt?
also
Yeah,
query.
yeah, please tell me.
So my question is, if we are not able to extract a list of users from the system, which are the others way by which we can get the terminated user list?
See, basically, this list of terminated employees are being maintained by the HR department, correct? So sometime what will happen, HR department are using an HRMS application. So if HRMS applications are being used, then the list needs to be extracted from the HRMS application itself. Now, if HRMS application is not used, then you will ask the HR department boss how you are tracking the joiners or active employees or employees who have left the company. They will say that we are just maintaining that list into the Excel sheet, in the Excel sheet. Then in our audit report, we have to first write that the list of employee who have terminated during the audit period, those list was maintained into the Excel spreadsheet only. So we have relied on the Excel spreadsheet shared by the HR department. Okay. Now, how to extract that list? It will depend on the application. Some companies are using a people strong, correct? Some companies are using some other HRMS solution. Okay. So it depends on what solution they are using, correct? There is no defined answer for that, that okay, you will go to this option, this option, and you will get a list. Okay. You have to sit with the HR department. You have to ask them that boss, please extract this list in front of us so that we can verify the integrity and we can ensure the completeness of the transaction. Okay, clear?
Yeah.
Clear? This is clear.
Yes.
Okay, guys, any other query, any other doubt in this, or should we move to the next question now? Next
Sachin,
question.
Aniket here.
Yeah, Niket, please tell me.
So, so how can we compare like if HR given a list of the like terminated user, okay,
Okay,
but
okay.
as an IT auditor, we need to like compare uh, the list and the
Mm-hmm.
HRMS software which they have like so authenticity we need to check. So can we ask to the HRMS, please give the access of your software? So we need to
Yeah.
compare your
S-
and the
So basically,
software.
Aniket, what happened? This is also an interview question, Aniket. Okay,
Hmm,
interviewer may ask you, how will
hmm,
you validate the
right.
completeness? Correct?
Yeah.
How will you
Yeah.
validate the completeness and the integrity of the
Hmm,
data which is shared by the auditee? Correct? This
right.
is also
Yeah.
very popular interview question. So see how to tackle these situations, Aniket. Basically,
Yeah.
as I told you, when
Hmm,
you will ask this list from the HR department, first you will ask the HR
hmm,
department to extract that list in front
uh,
of auditor itself. You will ask the HR department, can you please extract the list in front of auditor? For example, you have to do the login, okay? And after
yeah.
doing a login, you have to go to that option. From that
Hmm,
option they have to download, and once the file would be downloaded, we will ask for the screenshot. We will ask for the screenshot. For example, whatever that applications would be. Okay, for example, this is my HRMS applications. Once I will log into this HRMS applications, okay, I would be
Mm,
going to that option. And once my this list would be downloaded, I will
mm,
ask that person to provide a snippet. In that snippet, for example, if I am able to
mm,
see that during the audit period, total 100
mm,
employee have left the company. So that count will come into the snippet, and that count will also be come into the Excel sheet, which was extracted from the system. So as an auditor, we will ask that screenshot or that snapshot as well, that provide me a
mhm,
snapshot, so that we get an assurance that whatever data that they have extracted from the system, that data was complete and there was no integrity issue. Okay, so this is how it works in general. As an auditor, you will ask them to extract the data in front of them,
mhm.
and you will also ask this screenshot, so that when your
Okay,
boss or when your manager asks that how you have ensured the completeness and integrity, so that you can show the screenshot,
mm,
that this is the screenshot of the applications from where the data was extracted. In that screenshot, you can clearly see this is the count, and this is the count. It is matching with the Excel sheet, and other values are also matching. And we have asked them to extract this screenshot in front of us. So this is how we have ensured the completeness and integrity of transaction. Okay.
okay, yes. Thank you. Thank you, Sachin. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Any other
Um,
query, guys? Any other doubt? Please tell me.
yeah, hi Sachin.
Yeah,
So,
please tell me.
how would you check for the completeness and accuracy in the case where the HR is maintaining it manually and not using any HR software?
Yeah, so Nikhil, if they are not using any software to maintain that, that is the reason I told you that in the observation itself, you have to write, boss, we have just we have just relied on a data which is maintained by the HR department, because they were maintaining that data in the Excel sheet. Now, for
Oh,
example, now just to counter your question, even though if they are using an application, if some data was not entered into the application, now I cannot verify that completeness. Na? Are you getting my point? For
yeah.
example, even though they are maintaining an application, if HR has not put it any entry, so how will I ensure that it is a correct data or incorrect? As an auditor, I will just do whatever is in my hand. Correct? Okay.
Okay, so that is a risk that management has
Yes,
to accept.
that is what that is a residual risk kind of thing. Correct? The
Okay,
risk which
yeah,
remains after applying all the control. Okay.
okay.
What if there was a delay in revoking the access of terminated users, but the logging date was prior to the termination date? Do we still fail the control? Yes, we will fail that control. For example, the ID was deactivated after the last working day, but there was no logging as such, okay? Or there were no transaction passed. Last working day was 10th October, okay? Or instead of last login, suppose the ID was deactivated on 25th October. Now, although there was no transaction, no login, still this control will fail, because your policy was saying that access needs to be revoked within a 24 hours, and you have revoked that access after 15 days. As an auditor, I have just checked one level above that there were no login, there were no transaction, but control will fail. Okay, control will fail. Clear? SK? This is clear, SK? Okay. Can I get a confirmation from you quickly so that we can move to the next question? Okay, guys, let's move to a next question now. Now, question number two. Consider a situation. Now, next question on your screen. Consider a situation where an IT team member or manager level employee performed a change in the production. Okay, somebody have done some changes into the production environment, but ticket what was not raised for the same. As an auditor, how will you identify those kind of transaction? Okay, or how will you identify such situations where somebody have done a changes into the application, but ticket was not raised for the same. Now, in order to answer this question, guys, first you need to tell to the interviewer that we can identify this situation only when the application is generating the change log.
Law.
Correct? If application is generating the change log, then only I can identify this situation. For example, guys, you have done some changes into the SAP application. Some user have done the changes into the SAP application. For that change, user has not raised a ticket into the change tool which they are using. For example, if they were using a service now, basically what is this? This is a ticketing tool. Service now is there, Remedy is there, correct? Those are the ticketing tool. Jira is there, which companies are using for the purpose of tracking the changes. So somebody have done a changes, but ticket was not raised for the same. So as an auditor, what I will do? I will verify the application log, and I will correlate those application log with the change ticketing tool that companies are using. For example, in application log, I can see there are 10 changes performed. But when I have asked for the service now dump, in the service now, I can only see that the ticket was raised for a 9 changes. That means somebody has not raised a ticket. Somebody has somebody has not raised a ticket for one change. So that you have identified with the help of application log. And then accordingly, you will write that observation in your audit report. Is this clear to everyone? Question number 2 is clear. Any query, any doubt here, you can
Yes.
ask.
Uh,
Any? Yeah.
Aniket here.
Yeah, Niket,
So
tell me.
the application is not generating the change log. So, but
Then,
still,
yeah.
interviewer asks, so how can you identify this situation if the application is not generating the changes log?
Okay. Now, see, basically in this situation where
Hmm.
the application is not generating the change log, how will you identify? So in this case, as an auditor, you should know first you should know if there was any change during the audit period or not. I will give you one example here, Aniket. For
Hmm.
example, company are using some customized ERP application. Okay. And I
Hmm.
know
Right.
that during the audit period, there was change into the GST rate. Okay. Whatever product that company was selling earlier, the GST
Hmm.
rate on that product was 18%. And recently, 6 month back, company has, sorry, government have revised the GST rate, and that GST rate they made a 24%. So I know that in
Oh,
order to do these changes, they have to raise a CR. They has to
right.
raise a CR. But when I have verified this change ticket, in that I have
Hmm.
noted that there was no CR raised for change into the GST rate. That means they have missed that particular thing. So basically, if you want to
Uh-huh.
identify those scenario without application log, then you should know the
Hmm.
change. You should know the change. Okay, what are the changes which was there during the audit
Uh-huh.
period? Correct. Okay,
Right.
clear.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Clear.
Okay,
Thank you.
any other query, guys? Any other doubt here in question number 2? Okay, perfect. Let's move to, you are working where the developer writes a code, do self-test, moves the production. As an auditor, what will you do? Do you accept or ask an extra assurance? I will take this question separately. Who has asked? Srinivas. I will take this question. I will take this question. Okay. Now, question number 3. Consider a situation, okay, where IT team member or manager level employee. Okay, this we have already done. Sorry. Now, question number three, very interesting question. How to tackle an auditee who is rigid and not at all ready to accept the non-compliance during the audit. You have identified some non-compliance, but that auditee is not ready to accept the non-compliance, which is causing a delay in the audit completion. What will you do as an auditor? So again, it is like a behavioral or a situational based question. As an auditor, if you are in these situations, what will you do? Now, how to answer this question? See, guys, whenever, see, this is, I would say that this is very much relevant question because if you are an auditor, you will see certain auditees who are very rigid. Okay, whenever you find any observation, whenever you find any gaps, they always not ready to accept your observations or findings. So as an auditor, what you need to do, guys, whenever you find any observation, try to relate that observation and try to relate that finding with the regulatory requirement. Okay, try to relate that finding with the regulatory requirement. For example, if I am doing an audit for the bank, so I will make sure that suppose I have given a finding company has not documented a password policy. So first I will identify whether regulator has mandated a company to document a password policy or not. Okay. So I will see the applicable regulatory requirement. And when I am writing that observation at that time, I will give a reference that as per RBI circular, this dated this RBI requires a bank to document a password policy. So I have given a reference to the regulatory requirement. So you have to relate your observations with the regulatory requirement if possible. If it is not possible, then try to relate that observations with the internal policies and the procedures. See, basically, whenever you will find any observation, obviously you will see that what is written in the policy procedures. Okay, whether the policy procedures was appropriately designed or not designed. If policy procedure is silent, then you may add that line that the policy was not designed for this particular control. Correct? You will add that thing also. So this is point number three. Sorry, point number two, where you will try to uh, give the reference to internal policies and procedures. Point number three. Okay, point number three, what will you do, guys? Whenever you will highlight any observation, you have to write a relevant risk. So you have to explain them the relevant risk. What is the risk if this particular thing is not there? What is the risk if this particular thing is not there? And point number four, if during the audit period, suppose that risk was materialized, for example, password policy was not there. In the absence of password policy, there was an instances of a data leakages. So you have to write that instances as well. Whatever your audit observation, if there was something, if there was some instances which has been occurred due to that process gap, so you need to give that example also. Okay. Point number five, you need to give this update to their boss basically. For example, this is I am doing an audit of application A. There is one person, okay, who is Sachin. Sachin is an application owner. Now suppose Sachin is reporting directly to a CTO. So when I will be discussing this observation, I will involve this CTO as well, that we have raised this particular observation. We have a sufficient evidences as well. We have highlighted an appropriate risk and we have given a references to internal policies, procedures, and regulatory requirement. Even after doing all this, the person is not accepting that observation. If that person will not provide their management response, then we may not be able to complete this audit report on a time. Request you to intervene in between. So, okay. So these are the some of the steps that you have taken. Okay. And see, whenever you deal with this kind of people, try to put everything on an email. Don't believe on the verbal communication. Otherwise, this may this may impact to your situations. Okay, for example, if that person is saying, okay, don't write a mail, I will give you a revert in 1 day, I will give you a revert in a 2 days. Okay, we will give you some other evidence for compensating control. You don't write a mail, I will send you the data 2 3 days after. Don't believe on that verbal communication. Try to put everything on an email. Okay, otherwise at the end that person may tell you that, okay, you have not intimated to me, otherwise I would have been provided you all the evidences. Okay, so in this situation, this is the stand you have to take. Okay, you have to answer all this point during the interview, so that interview will get an assurance that you have already dealt with this kind of people. And if in future also, if you have to deal with those people, you would be able to deal that easily and properly. Is this clear? This question is clear? Any query, any doubt here, you can ask. Any query, any doubt here, you can ask, guys. This is clear. Can we move to the next question?
Yes, Sachin.
Okay, perfect. Now, next question. How do you test the TOD and TOE? Guys, do you know what is a TOD? What is TOE? Do you know what is a TOD? This is very, very important terminology. You should know this term because sometimes interviewer may use those terms. So if you don't know the full form and all, it may give the bad impression. What is TOD? What is TOE? TOD
Test
stands
of
for
design,
test of
test of design, test of effectiveness.
test of effectiveness. Perfect answer. Okay, test of design, test of effectiveness. Okay. Now, how to test TOD and TOE for of the password control. Okay. So they are asking you to validate the password controls as an auditor. How do you check the design and effectiveness of a password control? So basically, to check the design and effectiveness of password control as an auditor, first you will ask whether the company has documented a password policy or not. What will you ask? You will ask whether the company has documented the password policy or not. In the password policy, you will check whether all the parameters of the passwords are returned or not. Now, what are the password related parameter, guys? For example, minimum password length. Okay, minimum password length. Then password should meet the complexity requirement. When I say complexity, it includes the alpha, okay, numeric, special characters and everything. Okay, so whether that is being there, minimum password age is defined. Okay, maximum password age is defined. Okay, passwords should be stored in the encrypted or hashed manner. Okay, how they are storing the password. Passwords needs to be changed. Password needs to be changed at a first login itself. Okay, then maximum password age we have already covered. What else, guys? Then uh, failure, account
Attempt
lockout,
lockout.
basically. Yeah, account lockout. After 5 attempt or 3 attempt, your account needs to be locked out. Okay, then lockout duration. Okay, what is the lockout duration? Whatever. So you will first you will check whether those kind of parameters are being documented in the policy or not. Okay. Now, when suppose if you are explaining this parameter and if interviewer asked you what is the use of minimum password age, can any one of you please tell me what is the use of minimum password age? Any one of you? What is the use of minimum password age? Tell
It's
me.
like
Anyone?
The period to change the password after it's being set.
Perfect. Okay. Now, what will happen? Suppose if this password parameter is not there. Suppose in application, they have configured a minimum password age as a 0 day. What is the risk? If the minimum password age is set as a 0 day, what is the risk?
then there is a Is
The password can
to
be changed n number of times.
Perfect. Yeah, yeah. You were also saying something.
the account is also hacked. There is a possibility.
How? How? Give me the proper,
Like someone,
scenario. Yeah.
uh, I don't have any scenario, but it's just it's my just thought. If the
Okay.
password is not true, so that is a risk to uh, to catch someone by, or yeah,
Okay,
that is
now let me give you one example here, guys. For example, are you aware about one more parameter where user cannot use a last five password, correct? Password remember. There is one more parameter where application will remember your three
last
password, four password, correct? Last three password, four password, correct? This
right.
parameter is there in the application. Now consider a situation.
So
Consider a
incorrect.
situation. Yeah.
Uh, so incorrect login items as well would be another password parameter.
Incorrect login attempt. Yes, we have already written that. Account lockout, correct? After
Okay.
three incorrect attempt, your account will
Yep.
be logged out. Okay. Now, guys,
Yep.
let me tell you what is an importance of minimum password age, because whenever I ask this question during the interview, majority of people are not able to answer this question. Okay. Majority of people are not able to answer this question. What is the use of minimum password age? If it is 0 day, what is the risk? For example, in my application, I have done a configuration that application will remember last three passwords. So what is my current password, guys? For example, my current password is Sachin at the rate 123. This is my current password. Now, today is the date when I have to change my password because my maximum password age was 60 days. So after 60 days, I have to change my password, and today is that date. So I will change my password. So this is the first change which I will do. What I will do, guys, I will write my password as a Sachin1234 immediately. Okay. On a we in this time itself, again I am changing my password 12345. Again, I am changing my password 12345 6, and I will come back to my old password. Whatever old password which I was using, again I have logged in my account using the same old password. What I have done, I have changed this password three times. What I have done, I have changed my password three times. Application will only remember last three password. And as an user, again, I will start using my old password because users are very habitual to use a same password for all the applications. Okay. So what, suppose if this minimum password age is 0 days, user will change the password multiple time and again they will start using their old password. So if it is 0 day, it will defeat the purpose of this control. It will override this particular control which you have implemented. So that is the reason in the company, generally you will see that minimum password age is either will be a 1 day or 2 day. Suppose if this configuration is done, now once I have changed this password, I cannot change that immediately. I have to wait. I have to wait for at least 24 hours in order to change my password. Then after changing it, again I have to wait 24 hours. Now user will not do this. Okay. User will not remember that, okay, after 24 hours, again they have to change. After 24 hours, again they have to change. Okay. So that is the use case of the minimum password age. So in order to check this particular control, guys, first you will ask the password policy is documented or not. And second, you will ask the evidence of password parameter, evidence of password parameters, those that is implemented into the application. Okay, that evidence you will ask. Then you will compare both the thing, whatever is written in the policy, whether the same has been configured or not. Policy versus configuration. Policy versus configuration. If you found any deviation, then you can raise that point as a gap or as an observation if they have configured the parameter which are weaker than the password policy. For example, in the password policy, the minimum password 8 length was written as a 8 and they have actually configured it as a 7. This is a weaker control. This is a weaker control as compared to the policy. So this control you can write as an observation. But for example, suppose they have done the actual configuration instead of 7, they have done the actual configuration of 10. Now in the policy, it was written 8, but actually configured as a 10. Now this is not an observation. This is not a gap. Maybe you will give a suggestion as an auditor, make sure that your policies are aligned, but auditee may tell to you that boss, this is not a weaker control. I have implemented a stronger control as compared to whatever is written into the policy. Okay, so this is not an observation. Maybe you can just give a recommendation. Make sure that your policies are aligned with this requirement. Uh, Now, second thing, guys, this will give you some brownie point. You will also tell to the interviewer, suppose if we have to verify the password policy of an Active Directory, then we may go to the CMD command. In the CMD command, you can write what? Net accounts. And this command will fetch the actual password policy that is implemented at an AD level, that is implemented a ED level. It will fetch that and it will provide you the details of the same. Okay, net account in the CMD, you need to write a command net accounts, and this will give you the password parameter that is configured at an ED level, at an AD level. So you can give that as well. This will give you some brownie point. This is how you can verify the test of designed as well as test of effectiveness of the password control. Is this clear? Is this clear to everyone, guys? Any query, any doubt here you can ask?
Sachin,
Any
I have one
query?
question.
Please tell me.
So when we are checking policy versus configuration,
Yeah.
how with this we are ensuring effectiveness, test of effectiveness?
Because test of effectiveness means what? Whatever control that they have actually implemented is what? Test of effectiveness. Correct. The control that they have actually implemented is a test of effectiveness only. Na? See, one is a control at a design. They have designed that control. Now, whether that control is effective or not, that you will get to know from the configuration setting only. Correct. If it is actually configured, then it is perfectly fine. Na? Correct, Simran?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Effectiveness is what? Control is effectively implemented or not. For example, you have designed a control for each the change, you will take an approval from the change advisory board. The control has been designed. When on a sample basis you have verified 10 changes, you have noted that the approval was taken. This is what? Effectiveness of control. First, they have designed a control and then the control was effectively implemented as well. Similarly, the policy was designed for the password and the policy was implemented as well. So this is effectiveness, correct, Simran? Okay.
Got it.
Yeah. Perfect, guys. So this is about this question. Now, uh, any other query, guys? Any other doubt? Please feel free to ask. Please feel free to ask. Okay, now let me take this question as well, and then I will also share you the audit tracker, which I have promised you that I would be providing you an audit tracker. You are working in a small company where the developer writes a code, okay, do a self test, okay, and move that code into the production. As an auditor, what will you do? Do you accept or ask any extra assurance? See, I will not accept first, okay, because this is what? This is a violation of SOD rule, correct? This is a violation of SOD rule. developer is writing a code, the same person is doing a testing, and the same person is moving the code into the production. So this is SOD violation. First, I will say to the interviewer, as an auditor, I will not accept this situation unless and until the organization have implemented a mitigating control or a compensating control. Since this is a small company, I may not expect from a company to have a different employee to do the task, because we have to see the practical challenges as well. Correct, guys? In a small company, generally, SOD is not ensured due to the limitations of budget, due to the limitation of resources. So that is fine. But as an auditor, I will check whether the compensating controls are being there or not. Now, now suppose that person have moved those changes into the production. Now before making those changes live, before making those changes live, I will check whether in the company, is there any other person who is independent and who is checking that whatever changes that has been moved to the production, whether those changes were authorized or not? Because in this case, authorizations matters a lot. See, when a single person have all the right, this single person can override the entire process. This person can override the entire process. So I will make sure that before that thing go live, before that change goes live, I will having another control where I will at least make sure that whatever change that person is doing from a development till a production, whether those change was authorized or whether those change was unauthorized. Okay. I will also check that whatever change that he is doing, whether that change he is doing as per authorization only. For example, the authorization was given to add only one module, but that person has added a two module. So whatever authorization is given, I will make sure that the changes are done only for that authorized thing. And secondly, I will make sure that at least logs are available for each the steps that he is performing. Logs should be available for each the steps he is performing, so that later, suppose if we want to track any transaction, if we want to trace any transaction, suppose as of now we have not noted any authorized activity, but in future we have noted some unauthorized activity, so that with the help of log we can trace the accountability. So I will also ask to the company, are you maintaining a log of each and every activity whatever they have performed? Okay, this is clear, Srinivas? This is clear. This is clear to you. This question is clear. Can I get a confirmation? Yeah, perfect. Okay, fine. Whatever your this question, Srinivas, I may not be able to take the second one. Okay, because I have to take one more thing. I have to discuss one more thing, which is an audit tracker. Okay, guys. So as a part of this webinar, guys, I would be providing you this audit tracker. Basically, what is this tracker? This tracker will help you to track your audit from start to end. From start to end. Now, for example, guys, as an auditor, whenever we start our audit, first we do our audit planning. Okay. After doing our audit planning, we prepare our audit program document. Okay. We prepare our audit program document. In the audit program document, we will list down the relevant risk. We will list down the relevant control and everything. And after writing that, we need to raise the data requirement. Correct? We need to ask the relevant data from the auditing. Now, how to track your audit entirely? How to track your audit end to end? End to end. This for this tracker will help you. For example, whatever data that you are writing, you can write that data requirement here. Okay. For example, whatever policy processes. So whatever your data requirement is there, you can write those data requirement. See, in a technical terminology, we are calling it as a IDR and ADR. IDR stands for initial data requirement. Initial data requirement. For example, at the time of starting the audit, whatever standard requirement like policy, procedures, this, that. So those standard requirement we will ask to the auditee before the walkthrough. That is an initial data requirement. Once we get an initial data requirement, we may ask for some additional data requirement, which is called as a ADR. Okay. IDR and ADR, a technical terminology that auditors are using. IDR, ADR. So whatever your IDR, ADR, you will write that requirement here. Then who was the audit spoke? Okay, SPOC, spoke means what? Single point of contact. The person who will provide you a data. For example, this data will be provided by the Srinivas. So I will write a Srinivas name here. Okay, suppose this data will be provided by Aniket. So I will write his name. This data will be provided by Sachin. So we will write a relevant Spock name here who would be providing a data. Now, as an auditor, you need to track your entire audit. Basically, what will happen in majority of time, auditee will do the delay in providing a data. They will always do the delay in providing a data. Then at before 1 or 2 days of audit, they will provide you all data and they will unnecessarily pressurize you to complete an audit within a defined time period. Okay, so that is the reason as an auditor, you have to track when you have requested for a data. For example, you have requested for data on 27th January 2024. Now, at the time of audit initiation or audit kickoff time, you have to agree with certain TAT. You have to tell to the auditee when I will raise a data, you need to provide me a data in T plus 7 days. This is the TAT that you and auditee have agreed at the start of audit. So you will write if this data was raised on this date, the due date for providing this data is after 7 days. So after before 3rd February, you have to provide a data. Now, suppose if the auditee has provided you a data on 10th of February 2024, that means there was a delay for a 7 days. How much delay was there? There was a delay for 7 days. Okay. And suppose if that data was provided, for example, instead of 10th February, they would have been provided you a data on 2nd February. Then there is no delay. You got your data on a time. Now as an auditor, you have to analyze, you have to validate and close the data, correct? So basically this columns, whatever these columns are there, these columns will help you to track your audit. When the data was requested, when the due date, and what was the data received date. As per that, it will automatically calculate the delay. Similarly, guys, there is one more column which is a status. So whenever you will receive a data, guys, you have to update a status. For example, this data you have just received from auditee, but you have not yet reviewed. So you will mark a status submitted but pending for review. This data you have raised today itself. So this is a new request. This data has already surpassed the due date. Now this data will go to the pending bucket. This data they have provided, but they have partially provided a data. This data was not available with the auditee. This data they said that this data is received and you have reviewed, so you will mark it as a received closed. So whatever status that you will write here, guys, as per that this status, your another sheet would be automatically updated. For example, during the audit, you have asked for 11 items. Out of 11 items, 6 items has been received and closed. One is in a partial bucket, one is in the pending bucket, one is not available. So what will happen, guys? This particular thing will help you to track your audit. For example, if your manager is asking the audit status, you can immediately give that audit status with the help of this sheet. That during the audit, we have requested 11 data. Out of that, this many data is received. 55% received, this many pending, this many partially received, this many not available. So as per this status, this sheet will be automatically updated. And if somebody asks you the status, what you need to do, You just need to provide them this tracker that this is the status of the audit. This is the status of audit. Very easy. Okay. So your status would be tracked here. Then there are two other column. If auditee want to write some remark, they can write their remark. For example, risk assessment and risk treatment. They will write, they want to write, for example, risk assessment in progress. Risk assessment is in process. It is not yet completed. It is not completed. So now you have a documented evidence as well, confirmation as well, that auditee has provided a confirmation that this was not available. And as an auditor, whatever you want to write, you can write. Now, as an auditor, guys, whenever you write your remark, what would be my suggestion? Always use a date. For example, if you are writing a remark today, then you have to use a date. What is date? What is today's date, guys? For example, today is 23rd June. So you will write here 23rd June 2024. Okay, we got a confirmations from auditee. We got a confirmations. Okay, suppose if you want to write after this also, if you want to write, so always write with the date so that you would be having a clear trail as that, you know, when you have written what. After that, suppose if you want to write anything, then again use a date 24th June 2024, and whatever you want to write, you can write those here. So this is your column, auditor remark column. So basically this sheet will very much help you to track your audit from the start till the date when you have received the data and you have analyzed your data. And here you may add certain more columns. Suppose if data is not received and you want to also track the reminders. So you may add a column here, audit reminder mails sent. Okay. For example, for this data requirement, we have sent to the auditee one email on 24th March 2024. So I have written a date when the audit reminder was sent. Okay. For example, data requested on 3rd February. Sorry, due date was 3rd February. Data was not received as of now. The reminder mail was sent on a 24th March 2024. So likewise, guys, you can add this column as well if it is required. If not required, then you may skip this column. If you want to keep your reminder on a mail itself, on the mail also, you can send this tracker directly. This is the tracker. Request you to look for the pending data and provide me the pending or partially received data, correct? You can write this on an email itself. So this is the audit tracker which I was referring. Okay. This audit tracker can be used by any auditor, whether you are IT auditor, whether you are operational auditor, whether you are non-IT auditor, correct? Any auditor, if you are doing an audit, you can use this tracker. So this is all about our today's webinar, guys. Okay, I hope it uh, met your objective, guys. Now, if you have any query, any doubt, you can ask. Okay, or anything which you want to discuss, you can ask from our discussion in case of any query, any doubt, guys. Any other query, guys? Any other doubt from our today's discussion? Waiting for your
Sachin,
confirmation. Yeah, please
I
tell me,
have one
Sandeep.
query, but related to the privileged users.
Yeah, please tell me.
Can I ask that? So
Please
my
tell me.
query is, after doing the inquiry with the management about the privileged users, what are the way we can identify the super users?
Sorry, what?
How we can identify these privileged users in apart from the inquiry that we did from the management?
Apart from the inquiry, how can you identify the super user or privileged users? This is what your query,
Yes,
correct?
yes,
Yeah, so
yes,
basically what happened in all the applications, okay, there is a section through which you can extract the list of user, okay, you can extract the
yes.
list of users. So when you will be extracting that
Okay.
list of user, along with that, you can extract the roles as well, okay. This option and this feature is available in all the application. So you need not to only rely on the inquiry. You need not to rely only on the inquiry. As an auditor, you can ask as an auditor, you can ask to the auditee to extract that list of user along with the roles directly from the application itself. If it is a database, from the database also you can write a query. Okay, you can write a query and you can get how many privilege or super users are there into the application or into the database. Okay, so that is easily extractable basically. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
please answer the above question. It was asked many times in interview. How do you audit a SaaS-based applications apart from SOC 2 report? Example, Workday, Salesforce, etc. So basically, if it is a SaaS-based application, Srinivas, in case of SaaS-based application, the main thing that you need to verify is what vendor agreement. You need to see the vendor agreement. Okay, in the vendor agreement, what are the things that is being added? Since it is a SaaS based application, so everything like the application, the infrastructure, everything would be managed by the vendor itself. Correct? As an user, you will not be having a much right on that application. So what you will do, first you will ask as an auditor, please provide me the agreement copy. In the agreement copy, you will see whether right to audit clause is there or not. If right to audit clause will be there, then only you will be able to do the audit. Okay. Second thing that you need to verify when we are using a SaaS based application, whether SLAs are defined or not. Okay. Because for each the application, for each the vendor, you need to make sure that the SLAs are defined. If SLAs are not defined, then you may raise that point as a concern that since we are using a SaaS-based application, why SLA was not included into the agreement, correct? Point number three, if SLAs are defined, document whether companies are monitoring those SLA or not. Because majority of time, what will happen in case of SaaS-based application, what will happen that companies are defining an SLA, but those SLAs are not being monitored by the company. Very severe issue. So you can check whether the SLAs are being monitored or not. Point number four, if it is a SaaS-based application, you have to see who have an access to the database. I was doing a one audit for one of the SaaS-based application. I have noted that they have provided an access to the vendor employees. This is a very serious concern. If it is a SaaS based application, although everything would be managed by the vendor itself, but they cannot have any access to my database. In the database, access will be provided only to the company's employee, not to the vendor employees or that company whosoever is providing you a application. So you can check you have to do a thorough review of access. Who have an access in that applications? What are the roles? If you found any access given to the vendor employees of that SaaS-based company, you have to raise that concern because you cannot give any right to those employee. Those rights will only be provided to the uh, company. Then other control, suppose if right to audit clause is there, you can verify other application related control, correct? Security related controls, whatever you verify for our applications, correct? Incident management process, you can check the BCP-DR related process for that applications. Okay, so these are some of the controls which you can verify for the SaaS based application. Okay, Srinivas. Okay, this is clear. Okay. Okay, guys. So that is all for our today's webinar. Still, if you have any query, any doubt, please tell me, guys. Please tell me. Any query, any doubt. Yeah.
So Sachin, in one of my
So
interview, the interviewer asked the relationship between the SOC 1 report and the SOC 2 report. So if yeah, so how do we answer that?
Yeah. So basically, see what happens. SOC 1 and SOC 2. SOC 1 is being conducted to give an assurance about the financial statement accuracy.
Mhm.
Correct? whatever financial statement that company has prepared. So it is a audit more from the financials perspective. Whereas in SOC 2 audit, we verify the controls which are related to preparations of the financial statement, like an ICFR. So internal control over the financial reporting, where we will verify majority IT related control, and those control will also be verified based on some criteria, like confidentiality. There are trust service criteria, which is called as a TSC, which is called as a TSC. So in SOC 2, you will do that audit based on the trust service criteria, like confidentiality is there, availability is there, processing integrity is there, privacies are there, correct? So those trust service criteria are there, based on which the audit will be conducted. Okay. What I will do, who have asked me this, Vinay,
Yeah.
Naveen? Yeah, Naveen,
Yes.
what I will do, I am planning to do one more webinar specifically on the SOC part, because, during our today's webinar, I have not covered SOC and SOX. So I am planning to do one more webinar on the same, where we will be going to discuss maybe, few questions related to SOC and SOX. Okay. So we will definitely do that, Naveen. Okay.
Sure. Sure, Sachin. Thank you.
Okay, guys. Any other query, any other doubt before we wind up our today's session? And I hope you have
Sachin, I
enjoyed
have
the
one more
session. Yeah,
question.
yeah, please tell me.
So my question is, while we are checking the user access review control, so
Yeah.
what evidence we can see that to check that management has ensured completeness and accuracy of user access review report before they review that control?
uh, So basically what happen, generally when they conduct a user access review, they will provide you some email, correct? They will provide you some email. That
Yes.
email was initiated, correct? Then somebody has reviewed and provide their approval and okay, that he has reviewed. Now if you have to check whether that person has actually conducted that review or not, so as an auditor you have to re-perform that task. We will do the re-performance. Which audit procedure we will apply? We will apply a re-performance audit procedure. In as a part of re-performance, what will you do? You will also compare the application user with the HR user. If you found any deviation, that means they have not completed the task properly, correct? If you found any deviation, that means they have not completed a task properly. If you have not found any deviation, that means they have completed their task properly, correct? Okay.
A comparison can be performed between which two reports?
The application user list versus the HR data, correct?
Okay. Okay.
Okay, and you also need to check the roles in order to identify a segregation of duty. You can check the roles of the user, whether the roles has been given as per the job responsibility or not. Okay, so you can apply a one pivot table, and as per that, you will see this is the user, this is the designation of user, this users has been given this 10 role. So whether this user should have those roles or should not have those roles. So maybe you can apply that audit procedures also. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Clear, guys? Perfect. Okay, guys. So I would say that is all for our today's webinar. Okay. And what I will do, whatever Excel sheet that I have shown you in the today's webinar, I would be providing you that Excel sheet on your registered email ID. Okay. The ID which you have used to register for this webinar. So on a same email ID, you will get that Excel sheet, and I will be also providing you a recording for the webinar. Okay, guys. So the recordings will also be shared on the same email ID which you have used for the registration. Okay. Is this clear? Okay, guys, that is all from my side. Thank you so much for joining the webinar. And that's all from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Sachin.
Sachin.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sachin.